On my left is my wife and co-founder, Lynn Mathre. She is a registered nurse. She has a master's degree in science. She has a specialty degree in addictions nursing, and she's been an addictions nurse well over 2 decades. I'm going to let her tell you everything that you possibly know in 10 minutes about the medical uses of marijuana. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Al. As Robert said earlier, the trouble with this topic is any of us could speak and talk with you for days just to try to tell you everything we know about cannabis. It's an amazing plant. I want to speak a little bit initially about what you saw in that film, the endocannabinoid system. How many people have heard that and have a basic understanding of the endocannabinoid system? There's some. That's great. What we found, and this is 1988, they found out we have receptors in our brain for chemicals called cannabinoids. That was 1988. And people said, oh, look, we're wired for cannabis. And the researchers said, no, that's generally not how it works. There must be something in the body. So in 1992, in Israel, in Meshulam's lab, Raphael Meshulam discovered anandamide. It's a Hebrew word meaning bliss. That's the first endogenous, made within the human body. The first endocannabinoid discovered in the human body. So we have receptors in our brain, and we have these molecules that fit it and start reactions, other chain reactions that help our body function. Well, since then, we now know that we have receptors throughout our body. We have more receptors for cannabinoids than for anything else, more than for dopamine, more than for serotonin. We make at least 5 different cannabinoids. A researcher from Italy who's going to be speaking at our conference, Vincenzo De Marzo, says the endocannabinoid system helps us eat, sleep, relax, protect, and forget. That's huge. That's a healthy life. The purpose of the endocannabinoid system is to help us stay in balance. As Dr. Malamud says, it's the oil of life. It keeps everything running smoothly. They've learned so much about the human body based on this system. Just real quickly to try to say that, when you talk about eating, great appetite stimulant and great to prevent nausea, vomiting. Relax. It not only relaxes nervous people, it relaxes the muscles. For those with chronic pain, muscle spasms, it relaxes spasming blood vessels that you get in migraine headaches to relieve that, and other things. Protect. It's a neuroprotectant. As Robert said earlier, it actually protects nerve cells. It can help rebuild nerve cells. This is huge when the government keeps trying to tell you that drugs destroy nerve cells. Well, alcohol does. The endocannabinoid system is there, and it's responsible to help build nerve cells, to prevent against diseases like multiple sclerosis, to prevent against problems such as Alzheimer's disease. These are huge things. And the other protection is the immune system. Fights cancer cells. The endocannabinoid system is responsible to say, ooh, that's a cancer cell. Kill it. And it makes the cell do, we call it apoptosis. It means self-suicide. So it's very important in that regard. Sleep, one of the best sleep medications ever, cannabis, and the endocannabinoid system, again, it helps the body calm down so you can go to sleep. And the forgetting part. Women can think about it for childbirth pain. It helps you forget those terrible things. Hurt so bad, maybe a woman, if she remembered that, would never have another baby again. But it's survival. You need to forget painful things. That's why veterans find it so helpful for post-traumatic stress. So I'm telling you this system because we've discovered this system. It's still not taught in nursing school. It's still not taught in medical school. And yet, what's so unique about cannabis? It's the only plant that we know of that has cannabinoids. It makes, we'll call them phytocannabinoids, made within the plant, as opposed to endocannabinoids made within our body. So here's this plant on Earth that has these chemicals. Now think about it. If your thyroid's not working, we give you Synthroid, a chemical that's just like the thyroid you need to keep you in balance. If you have diabetes, patients need some medicine like insulin to help keep their sugar under control. So here's this plant that has cannabis, the cannabinoids in it, and that can literally keep your system running smoothly. If it's deficient, add what it needs, or if it's just overworked, help supplement it, help you keep in balance, literally. So cannabis is this only plant with this plant. Now we all hear about THC. You know, they make it stronger every day and it gets you high and everything. Well, delta-9 THC is the primary cannabinoid in that plant. Cannabis has, they found over 100 different cannabinoids in the plant. Some in very minute amounts. We don't know that much about most of them, but we know about a lot of them. And we know about one that's really getting a lot of attention called CBD, or cannabidiol. This one is not psychoactive, but it has huge abilities to help the body. This is the stuff in the plant. Anti-inflammatory. How many old age diseases, we're all getting up there in years, are a result of some kind of inflammation? Whether it be arthritis or inflammation in the brain causing problems, inflammation in any of the muscles, etc., that we get pain, aches and pains, and things aren't working well. CBD is an anti-seizure medication, anti-spasm for those having muscle spasm problems, anti-tumor. The other thing it can do is it's a bone stimulant. Very important to prevent osteoporosis. Huge risk for as we get older and our bones become more brittle. And you may have read a few years ago the drugs that they often use for the elderly to prevent osteoporosis. If you stay on them for several years, your bones become too brittle, and it doesn't take much to just break it. Here you've got a natural substance that will go in your body and basically help those bones stay in balance to prevent the osteoporosis. So the other thing, so here we have this cannabis plant with this, and the point of all what I'm saying is it's not about the THC. We talk about medicinal cannabis. It's about the plant with all of its cannabinoids. It's got other chemicals in there called flavonoids and terpenes. They have anti-inflammatory properties and others. And when they work together, very naturally, they're gentle on the body. And when you have the CBD in the cannabis with the THC, it will lower that high so a person doesn't feel very dysphoric. Now you can get the synthetic marijuana, they try to call it. Marinol, synthetic marijuana, it's synthetic THC. So our government has given us a pill we can take. It's the one that really gets you high and doesn't necessarily have all the other therapeutic value. It helps with nausea and vomiting, you know, and it helps with some things, some patients. But it takes a long time until you know how it feels because it goes in the gut and it gets absorbed. It might take up to a half hour to 40 minutes to an hour until you feel the effects. It's very hard to figure out the right dose, and some patients get too high. So here you have this cannabis. Again, the more gentle plant, and if we are growing it for medicine, we're going to have people grow it where the ratio of the other cannabinoids are up there. It's not just high THC. So that's a huge thing. Now safety, just so people understand, we take medicines all the time, as you know, and there's always risks. Listen to any ad on TV and they'll talk to you. The risk might even be death. There's one ad that says, for some people, the benefits may outweigh the risks. Take that. You know, liver failure, kidney down, bad things happen with drugs. Cannabis, there's never been an overdose. You just can't overdose on the medication. It might take one study, or one researcher was trying to put it in words, saying it would take 1,500 pounds consumed in 15 minutes to induce death. You can't do it. The Institute of Medicine has done studies, and there have been cases to the DEA. We've taken it legally to say reschedule it. It doesn't fit there. The DEA, back in 1988, before they knew about the endocannabinoid system, he ruled that it is one of the safest therapeutic substances known to man. This is the DEA's own judge. He also said it would be unreasonable, arbitrary, and capricious for the DEA to continue to stand between those sufferers and the benefits of this substance in light of the evidence on record. But the DEA said, you know, we got a war on drugs and marijuana is going to stay illegal. So they ignored their own judge. They've kept it in Schedule 1. Now in 1990, moving forward, in 1999, the Institute of Medicine did a review, published their review, cannabis, marijuana and medicine, assessing the science base. And same thing, they determined it is not highly addictive, it is not a gateway drug, it does have therapeutic value. Did the government do anything with it? They try to pretend it never existed. They just walk away and leave it. But when it comes to the safety, the Institute of Medicine said, except for the harms associated with smoking, the adverse effects of marijuana use are within the range of the effects tolerated for other medications. And actually, if you looked at that, it's even safer. But they clearly saw it fits. It's a medicine. We should be able to have it, and yet we ignored it. So some of the properties I want, think of this and think of, someone, if not you, your parents, your children, your siblings, someone needs something that might be anti-inflammatory, analgesic, as we said, one of the best medicines for pain, antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal. It can even kill the MRSA virus in hospitals. Don't you think we should care about that and do more research on that? It's a neuroprotectant, an anxiolytic, an which will help with your anxiety, an antidepressant, an antipsychotic. And as I said, anti-cancer, the antiemetic, bone stimulant, sleep inducer. These are things we can use, and I hope you do. So I just wanted to quickly, the other last thing I want to say about medications. For those on medications, this is not one to worry about with interaction with your other medications. You have to worry about that a great deal, not with cannabis. As Al said earlier, veterans. Again, we push this so much because veterans are dying, committing suicide. It's just, the number's too huge. And a lot of it is for post-traumatic stress. They can't deal with the horrors they live with. Cannabis is one of the best medicines, and it's that forgetting, but it helps them so much. Literally, it saved their lives. But traumatic brain injury, it's a wonderful medicine for them. And if they've had spinal cord injuries or loss of limb, the phantom pain. So on behalf of veterans, on behalf of the elderly, on behalf of your own health, think about cannabis. And the one last thing I want to say, which will be presented at our conference, and this is almost the most atrocious. Every 2 years when we have a conference, Al and I learn so much more about the science. And we aren't learning any more about dangers, we just keep learning more about benefits. Here's the newest one. If you can grow the plant and juice the leaves of the plant, you're not heating them, you're juicing them. It will not make it high. The THC doesn't become active unless it's heated. If you juice those leaves, it's probably the most beneficial vegetable you can eat. It will give you 60 times the anti-inflammatory cannabinoid power than smoking cannabis or heating it somehow, vaporizing it, or taking it in some form where they have heated and activated it. So this is a vegetable we should all be able to grow in our gardens, which juicing those leaves on a daily basis would keep you in optimal health. So this is a war on people. We hope you fight. One last thing, there's a video back there if anyone wants to look at it. This is one of the best documentaries ever. It's available for sale. But What If Cannabis Cured Cancer? He describes the endocannabinoid system very clearly. And most of those speakers on this film are in it as well. So thank you very much.